to life. Inner circles here where voices thrive. Turn on your screens, let the magic unfold. Listening and healing as stories are told. Come one, come all, this is your time. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. In a circle podcast where hearts unite. Sharing our truths, bringing hope to the light. Community strong, we're never alone. Together as one, we've created a home. With laughter and love, we break down the walls. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Inner Circle Podcast. Today is Tuesday, September 16th, already the middle of the month. By the time you look, September is going to be over, and Thanksgiving is going to be Halloween and Thanksgiving and all of those good stuff. But today, our topic is deployment of National Guard troops in American cities. I'm your host, Abe Kamara. I'm here with my co-host, Peterson from the windy city of Chicago, where the National Guard will soon be deployed. So welcome, Peterson.
How you doing, Ed? Welcome everybody to the show. This is Peterson from, like I said, the Windy City. The National Guard, I mean, by this time, we would have expected to see them already in the streets, but I think, I don't know what's the hold up. Sometimes, I think the administration, they want to play their hand. So they hold the cards and then they show something else to see how you react, and then they're going to play that hand. So I guess they are on standby. They are not fully declared yet to come to Chicago. But yeah, this is a great topic to have a discussion on.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, Peterson. Folks, you can join the discussion tonight. I mean, what do you think about this? Do you think it's a great idea? It's a good idea for the administration to deploy National Guard troops in American cities. I mean, since I've been here, the only time I ever saw armed guards in the streets was after 9/11, and there's no kind of emergency. So what do you think about this? You can put a comment in the chat, call us here at the Inner Circle Podcast. We like to bring topics like this to discuss it, the impact on our community, on immigrants. So because we are here to amplify, empower, and elevate immigrant voices. So also there's a growing community. You can follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, X, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Let us make this a community. So with that, I mean, Peterson is a hot topic, man. Obviously, since the administration came, the second term of the administration is like there's been like so many policy decisions, right? It's like, there's something. I mean, there's something like in the MAGA world they call flood zone, right? The Steve Bannon, these guys, they say, hey, you just got to, in order to be relevant, in order to be on top of things, you got to just flood the zone with so many news cycles, with so many decisions, with so many maybe the executive orders and things like that. So, and since the administration came, there's been like so many things. But one of the one that's really have garnered attention is the whole National Guard deployment, right? It happens in LA, where in like, they were there to kind of, according to the government, they were there to protect federal buildings, and also just to make sure ICE, were protected, and stuff like that. So they deployed both the National Guard and the Marines in LA, and then Washington D.C. Right? They say what Washington D.C. They say was about crime, but when you look deeper, it was mainly about immigration crackdown. And then your city of Chicago was just like in the news constantly. I mean, your governor, your city mayor, these guys were constantly warning you guys, hey, the National Guard, I mean, they are going to be coming from himself. The president himself was kind of was saying it over and over that he was doing it to combat crime, but on the surface, right, seems to be all about immigration. Do you think in the moment we live in, those like, is immigration so bad? Like, are we so bad that the president wanted to deploy National Guard to, like in American cities to, crack down, on immigration?
Yeah, so uh, it's a great point you made because this whole threat of deploying the National Guard is under the guise of, like you said, to squirrel like crime or violent
Mhm,
crime,
mhm,
as they say. But from the beginning, the list of even cities that the president was targeting, because after LA and DC, Chicago was the next on the list. But
yeah.
like statistics will show that crime data that's reported to the FBI as of last year, data that they are working off of, Chicago is not even on the list of the top 10 like
Mhm,
cities
mhm,
for like violent crimes or even property like violent crime or property crimes or anything like that. Chicago is not on the top 10. So if they were going by data that is aimed at say, okay, well, this is mainly for crime, whether it's property crime or violent crime as a whole. Memphis, Tennessee, which has been in the news the past couple of days,
mhm,
Memphis leads the country as of last year, the whole of last year. They have like they more than triple the rate of any crime compared to a national like
mhm, yeah,
average. So if the whole thing about deploying National Guard or federal agents into a city to like clean the city so that it can lower crime rate, Memphis would have been the very first one for them to deploy National Guard to. But the thing about even sending out National Guards is like what the Chicago mayor and the governor were saying in the beginning when a few weeks ago when this whole rhetoric was ramming up like, oh
yeah,
yeah, National Guard's coming. You guys expect them in a week or so. And so they were saying, instead of sending the National Guards, why don't you just give more funding for law enforcement that we do have here, or for more people to go into like law enforcement so we can recruit more people instead of deploying like military? Because uh, when they were talking about the Chicago deployment, there were some veterans that actually came online. I don't know if they were anonymous or not, but they were saying like, this is not what we train for as the military, whether it's National Guard or Air Force, like any branch of the military. They're not trained basically like to babysit. That's not what
yeah,
training is for.
yeah,
They are trained for warfare. So
yeah.
with that, is that what is come down to? Are we turning our neighborhoods into like a urban warfare setting where we deploying like military with like all their military equipments and things like that? So it's not a good look.
Yeah, obviously, right. I know sometimes in our community, right, we don't like to pay attention to these things, but it's so important, and so it's in a way very, very important, right? Because number one, as you said, right, these guys, right, those that join the military, whether the National Guard, the Marine, or whatever, they join it either, to go to combat, to protect the country, to go to war or whatever, right? It is not to do, or even like for the National Guard, where they do like emergencies, right? When there's a
Mhm.
hurricane, maybe in like a Florida or like a natural disaster. I mean, you and I
Right.
obviously remember Katrina very well, or maybe
Yes.
any kind of a natural disaster anywhere that
Mhm.
local authorities cannot handle. The National Guard will be deployed, and then obviously, right, it has to come from the governor of his or her state, right?
Mhm.
Will say, hey, man, it's like because the governor of if you understand how the system works, the governor is like the
President of that
commander
state.
in chief of the
Yeah.
National Guard of his or her state,
Mhm.
you know. So it should be the governor kind of authorizing, right, or maybe deploying the National Guard for whatever emergency, and the National Guard is only deployed when there's an emergency. But for the federal government to come in and say, hey, we're going to deploy National Guard in any city that we want to, it's like, okay, why are you doing that, first of all? And number two, when it comes to crime in this country, right, Peterson, right, man, you and I know, like, even just yesterday, from Sunday to yesterday, there were like nine. There was two shooting in Minneapolis. With like nine people got wounded, two critically. When it comes to crime in this country, it's a normal thing.
Mhm.
It is a normal thing, right? It's a normal thing. It's all over. So why would you want to deploy the National Guard to fight crime? It doesn't really make sense, right? It doesn't make any sense. And so I don't know the rationale, for the government trying to, or for the federal government trying to go that route. It just doesn't make sense. And then even when it comes to the immigration crackdown stuff, right? It's like, okay, why are you trying to deploy the National Guard when you just committed up to $100 billion for ICE? Okay, you know, I think ICE can do the job. I mean, so why are you trying to bring on the National Guard to supplement ICE? So it just doesn't make sense. And to threaten like your city and your state were actually, I don't know, like he and your governor and your mayor were really going at it. You know what I mean? Stuff. Don't do that. Doesn't make sense constitutionally. It's not right and things like that. And so it was the administration rationale for doing it just didn't make sense.
Yeah. So the administration, they are undermining, like we said, the authority of the state, the cities that they are deploying the military into. So, like we said, that order is supposed to come from the governor that says to the government, like, "Hey, there's an emergency, and we need like help. We need military help, not just even to say, well, maybe we've tried funding or adding more law enforcement officers and it's not working. So can you please like deploy the National Guard out here? Then the president can say, oh, okay, well, this person asked for it, and there you go. You can have that. But to just send military into these cities, and like we keep saying, it's not, there's something behind it. They're trying to go
Mhm.
behind the issue because yes, they have ICE agents, and like you said, we didn't know there were this many ICE agents until like this whole immigration crackdowns happened, because everywhere you turn, and they don't come like two, three, like how sometimes if in your local neighborhood, if somebody gets pulled over, if they call back up, you will see maybe two or three squad cars. These guys, they move. They come
Mhm.
in. It's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if they're coming into a place, they're not coming like three, four deep. They come more. They back each other up. So there was an incident here in Chicago on I think Friday. I
Mhm.
heard about it on the news that uh, they said ICE unfortunately fatally shot somebody who and then when they interviewed them, they said it was targeted enforcement because the person was known for reckless driving. So I'm like,
Wow.
reckless driving, have they ever committed like vehicular homicide, or have they, I didn't go into detail
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
read behind it to say, okay, well, maybe this person have had multiple DUIs and they've either endangered people or killed people before. This is why they say it was a targeted enforcement. And then uh, the story goes that the person, I don't know, they were driving away or something, and they dragged one of the ICE agents under their car, so they had
Okay.
like um, take the to shoot them. So
Okay.
with those type of incidents and things, and then talking about the military coming to fight crime. So how how does that play out? Are they going to go into like neighborhoods, into the alleys and things, especially in like the Chicago area? I just imagine like, okay, would they be on the south side, in like the Chatham neighborhood, the Pullman place, like going
Yeah.
in neighborhoods and alleys and things, standing around corners so that people can see them and be like, oh no, there are soldiers standing on that corner. So whatever I was intending to do, whoever I had in mind tonight to go assault, I'm not going to do it. I
Okay.
don't see how this plays out.
Yeah. I mean, to Miss B point here, to Denise Butler point here, law enforcement at any level is not a solution to solving crimes. Obviously, I mean, it depends, right? Obviously, some level of law enforcement, right? I think it is good when a city is overrun by crime, especially violent crime. The only thing, right, is as I mean, to Peterson, to your point, when you try to militarize, local law enforcement, right, it's like, okay, because I mean, the National Guard, according to the Constitution, according to the law of this country, National Guard does not have, or even the military does not have any arresting power. They do not have any arresting power. Even the one that were in LA, right? They were just standing there. Okay. It was they were just standing there, right? Maybe to your point, right, there's a bigger thing behind this, right? Because for some of us for immigrant backgrounds, when we see military folks with arms, create fear.
Mhm.
It creates fear. It's like, oh, whoa, this thing is getting serious, right? Because
Yep.
hey, you come from where those things are normal, right? You see military folks passing around with arms, like folks from war-torn countries, right? It's like, so maybe when you see, you know, local, I mean, let's say in your neighborhood or in your community, you see the National Guard wear arm or you see the Marine wear arm patrolling in these American streets, it might create fear in the immigrant community. So maybe there's a bigger, there's something bigger to this thing, right? Say, hey, it's like when we deploy these, either people must start think twice to what to self-deport. If I
That
start saying,
makes
man, this is
that
getting
is an
serious, I don't
excellent
want the
point.
army to come for me.
Yep.
Like, so it's that because even Washington D.C., right, the
Mhm.
National Guard was just there. They said like some of the things they were doing, taking out trash, just standing there. It's like, dude, it's like, do you join the national? I mean, do you join the National Guard to what? To go take out trash? Really? Is that a job and stuff like that? So it's like it just doesn't make any sense. But I think it is there to instill fear because the entire time the National Guard has been Washington D.C., there has been an increase in immigration enforcement.
Mhm.
Okay, is that most of those that were arrested, I think almost like the statistics is that about 60% were immigrants, right? Immigrant related arrest. So this whole thing probably is geared towards the immigrant community to instill that fear. But is that a right way though to go about doing this, right? So if you want to do immigration crackdown, as I said earlier, you already have ICE. You have committed over $100 billion to them, right? For this whole immigration, the mass deportation, the new enforcement. So why do you need a National Guard? It just doesn't make any sense. But I think it is there to instill fear in the immigrant community, especially.
Yeah, that's an excellent point because I think you are right about trying to instill fear because a lot of people who come here as immigrants, they are basically fleeing from something.
Hmm.
So, in the case of a lot of like I want to say West Africans is from either some civil unrest or some like war or something like that. So with people playing these things in their mind, like you said, if somebody just came from a war-torn country or they ran away because of war and they see like military people with arms in the street, yeah, they're gonna get scared. Like, did I make the right decision? Is this the place I want to be? I mean, up to now, people that have been in the U.S. for decades that came from Liberia because of the Civil War, a lot of people were traumatized. Like even fireworks on 4th of July, it happens every year, but if they're not looking up to see that little light go and the boom, if they hear it, a lot of people are startled and they still like get scared. So with that, if you like see somebody, you go into work or you go into the store and you see like soldiers walking around with guns,
Yeah.
like actual military equipment, you're gonna get scared. You're gonna think twice, like, maybe I should like think about leaving this place or go back. So I guess they're trying to like force people to say, okay, maybe we have some of the population that, although they are not violent offenders and we have no reason to go after them, but if we put fear in them, they're gonna like want to self-deport and things like that. So like the only other place that I've seen something like this before, years ago, I went to Mexico for work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the part of Mexico that I went to, I
Yeah.
was surprised I didn't see one police officer. So right from the airport, you
Yep.
see like military with like all their rifles and everything. And then in the heart of the city, I'll stay at my hotel and you will see military in the back of pickup trucks like driving to the town. I'm like, are they, is there a military base around here, or are they going to like war or something? And everybody's like, no, the city was so corrupt that the government came in and took, then just they told all the
Yeah.
cops to leave,
Yeah.
and then the military took over. So
Yeah.
with that, it's like it put fears into people, like, oh my goodness, like what's going on?
Yeah, yeah. And to your point, right? Like, I mean, you can see those things. I mean, my first time going to Mexico, right? I was like, because of the drug cartel, because the, because I mean, because of the drug cartel, the proliferation of drugs and the drug trade. You see these things in Mexico and in a lot of South American countries because it's like these places have been overrun by gangs, right? So the
Mhm.
military have to come in,
Yeah,
right, to kind of try to reestablish or establish order.
right.
To your point, right? It's like so you can actually see them like on the street with guns, as
Yep,
a tourist, as a visitor, you say, whoa, that is, I mean, because you come from America, right? You don't even,
yep.
you don't see that. You don't
Nope.
see that. As an American, you don't really see that. So that really, I mean, as a, you only see them, you only see those in places that are very, very with violent crimes, with violent gangs or war-torn countries. But to try to bring in America under the guise of crime, I mean Chicago, bro, and Southside Chicago, even here North Minneapolis or other places where there's always a place in this country where in like crime or some, I mean certain part of Baltimore, right? Or maybe Memphis, Tennessee,
Mhm.
because of the proliferation of guns, of the epidemic of guns, where in like every kid, you know, everybody have access to guns in their place. There's no way you're gonna crack down or eliminate crime, right? No matter how you deploy the military, except you want to go to war, except you want to go to war with them.
Yeah. I don't know if it's my network. It kind of froze. Yeah, I'm waiting for Abe to reconnect. I don't know if it's from my side or from his, but yeah, like we're talking about just taking the National Guard or military into these cities. It doesn't make sense because even if you have gangs, a city that is full of gangs, you will know that bringing the military is going to refocus them. Although they're going to be like, hey, okay, instead of going after somebody on this block or that block or in this neighborhood, now I have somebody else to focus on, and it's not going to solve the crime or to say it's going to lower the rate of let's say robbery or homicides and things like that, because a lot of places like Chicago, yes, some of the shootings happen on the streets, like street corners, but a lot of it also happens behind doors in homes and things like that. So there's nothing. You're not deploying the military for them to go into people's homes. If they're going to be standing around the corner, that person can wait until you leave from that corner, and then they come and do whatever they want to do. So it's just going to be, it's probably going to delay it, but it's not going to make them cancel their plans and things like that. So I just don't know. And if the military is out in the streets and somebody or people are like, let's say, shooting at each other, where sometimes during an argument, somebody will pull out a gun and then they start shooting, the other person starts shooting. So in that case, then what's the National Guards? What's their who would be their focus? Would they go after everybody?
Yeah. Thanks for holding it down, Peterson. I mean, second, these days when you're talking about administration, Miss B and I was there yesterday. I said, hey, we're trying to, it's all cancel
I
culture,
don't like you.
Yeah, that's my own people. But when we are bringing this kind of a, sensitive topic, it's
Yeah,
like Yeah, so but hey, thanks for holding it down, folks. Back, it was a little bit of technical difficulty for the second
Mhm.
time, for the second night in a row, but thanks for holding it down. Yeah, man, but as I was saying, right, I don't think, having the National Guard is going to solve the crime issue. If the government, if the administration want to say, hey, right, they're coming after immigrants, I think they should just come out and say it and work with the various governors, right, and work with the various governors of this state to say, hey, man, this is our priority. As I've said before, even from the onset of the administration, I said they campaign on this whole mass deportation and the immigration crackdown. So if that's what they really want to do, they shouldn't be about crime. The focus should just be about, hey, we want to come after immigrants, and if you are whatever city, whatever county, whatever state, just work with the governor and the local authorities and try to see how best you can implement this whole immigration policy.
Yeah, so I think, like we said last week, the administration, they don't really have like a goal, uh, end game to say, okay, well, this is what we are aiming at. So they're just casting a broad net to catch whatever. So uh, to your point, they could have come out and said, well, these are the criteria we're going after. People, like they said during the campaign, will go after violent offenders, people who committed certain crimes and they are in the system. They're living here on tax dollars because they are in jail or prison and they're getting fed through the tax payers at the taxpayers' expense. So we're going to go after those people and get them out of the country. And then with that, it's going to give the next person that is thinking about committing that same crime, like, hey, I can see myself out of here if I do something like that. So it will kind of put that fear in people to try to think twice. But with this, they just throw it in every direction to catch. Oh, first we'll go after violent offenders, and then we'll go after undocumented. Okay, we'll go after people who enter the country illegally. It doesn't matter how long they've been here. We're gonna go after this and after that. And now with the military piece of it, where they say, "Oh, it's crime," but you notice that, like I said, is big cities that have large immigrant populations. Those
Hmm.
are the places they're they're going after. That's on the list when they say, "Oh, Memphis, St. Louis, Baltimore, New Orleans, Chicago, DC, and so forth." So these are places that have large immigrant populations, and since they don't have like a clear data of, okay, who all are undocumented, because they'll usually give an estimate, oh, this city has this number of estimated undocumented people. Now, if Chicago, since they consider themselves a sanctuary city, the governor, the governor, and the mayor, they will never come to that point where they will say, "Oh, we are declaring emergency. Let's work with the administration and try to get the undocumented or the violent offenders out." So they just try to take matters into their own hands and come in. But I guess they're trying to have double presence because we have
Hmm.
actions. Then now with the National Guard, it's like people will be like, I cannot leave my house, I can't go outside, so I would just stay in and starve. And then when it's time, I go out there so they can, they can get me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, folks, tonight we are discussing the deployment of National Guard troops in American cities. We have already seen it in Los Angeles, LA. We have seen it in Washington, D.C. Now they say it might be in Memphis, Tennessee, or maybe in Chicago. Chicago has been in the news for National Guard troops to come for the last couple of weeks and months, but it hasn't happened yet. So who knows when? So tonight, that's the topic tonight: deployment of National Guard troops in American cities. So you can contribute to the conversation by putting a comment in the chat, calling our number 952-594-5154. But here's the thing though, right? When it comes to the issue of crime, as I said, since I came here in the late 90s, there's always been, I'm in South Side Chicago. it has always been in the news about crime. And to your point, all of these large cities, Minneapolis, as I said, just yesterday, I think from Sunday through yesterday, okay, there were like, there was somewhere, South Minneapolis there, right? It's like there was like, two gun incident wherein like nine people were shot. Nine people were shot, right? It's like so every major city in this country, there's like crime daily. Because again, folks, we have guns are easily accessible in this country. You have a lot of homeless people. That's one of the topic really, really need, we're going to bring here, one of these days, right? Homelessness in America, right? You have a lot of homeless people in these cities, right? And so all of these things bring about crime. So there's no way you can, and look, kudos to local law enforcement, to the police, to the sheriff, to these local law enforcement. They are always, and local officials, they are doing their best to combat these crimes. But to say they can eliminate it, everywhere in this country you go when you watch local news, there's always something happening in some neighborhood. you know, so there's no need, right, for the National Guard to come in and say, hey, they're trying to do crime. There's since I've been here, Chicago has always been in the news when it comes to crime. Southside Chicago, when it comes to crime, there's always when it comes to shooting, that has never ever change, right? It has always been like that, Obviously, right? Recently they said, hey, violent crime is going down all over this country. Even the FBI have stated that. So why would you want to say, yeah, that you want to come to Chicago to deploy the National Guard to to bring about crime? But to Miss B point here about how, like I says, like crime never goes down in Chicago, right? Even already big cities, because to your point, that's where the jobs is. Like that's where the jobs are. That's people gravitate towards these big cities, and there's no way you're going to eliminate crime 100%. Absolutely no way.
Yeah, there is no way that you can eliminate that. And to Ms. B's next point over there, the comment, that's something that I was going to say too about investing in communities and things like that. So data will show that those places that back in the day, they were known for like gang activity, like heavily gang infested, basically, where you
Mhm.
say these two block or this perimeter is full of a lot of gangs. If the government, whether it's local or state or federal, if they invest within that neighborhood and bring resources that would be available to the citizens, you will see that crime will actually go down within that place. So if you have now, people don't talk about libraries because everything is on people like phones and stuff like that. But neighborhoods that back in the day when we were like in grade school and high school and things, places that have libraries, those are places that people usually gravitate towards. Like, oh, okay, well, they have good schools in this community. They have libraries, they have parks, they have such and such. But if you go to places like some parts of South Chicago where like these resources is like the city or the government, they just abandon those neighborhoods and they leave the people to themselves. Like, okay, well, this is where all the drugs are being sold, so we're not going to go into that neighborhood and do any type of investment. But if that would actually help if the government, instead of saying we're going to deploy the military or we're going to bring more federal agents, if to what the governor and mayor's been saying, invest in things that will be able to lower the crime rate. If these kids, well, most of them are kids, but if these people that are committing these crimes, if they have like things to do, better resources and things within their community, I'm not saying that it's going to eliminate 100%, but it's going to cut down the rate of crime within those communities.
So what you're saying basically then is like, to Miss viewpoint here, right, the solution to crime is investment in citizens, and
Right.
crime will be non-existent. Well, that could be a good point, right? Obviously, uh, I don't think, from my political point of view, I don't think it's a government job to, or the federal government job to, I mean, they should invest, right? I mean, the federal government should obviously, coordinate, I mean, with the local
The
government
local, yeah,
to,
that's why I said
you know
local
what I
and
mean,
state.
to
Mhm.
invest in these areas to see how best, because like they said, an idle mind is a devil's worship, right? So it's like if someone is busy, if someone is busy, somebody case pretty much like they wake up in the morning, there's nothing to do.
Yep.
Maybe the dad is in jail, the mom has to work 2, 3 jobs, and then he go to school. He got off school, there's no one there, to guide him or her. And so, right, the only people he or she is looking up to, is some dude in the neighborhood who's maybe a gang leader and say, hey man, like push them into what? The drug trade or whatever. Or whatever crime. But if the government can actually, what I mean, I do agree with you on that point, right? Both local and the federal can say, look, man, these crime infested areas, because I said, since I came in this country, South Side Chicago has always been like that. Why is like why can't the government step in and say, hey man, maybe break that whatever is there, break it down and we develop it. You know,
Yeah, no,
instead it's just
to your
I
point,
mean, yeah.
yeah, to your point, when we first came here in the 90s, there's a part of Chicago where you come from the loop going
Hmm.
south. They
Hmm.
used to have these buildings on the
Mm.
sides. Those I forgot what they used to call them, but the certain time came that the government they broke everything down because those were like gathering places for gangs and just like people who grew up in those neighborhoods, they couldn't wait to leave because it's like there's nothing here for me.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
I stay here, there's only one place or two places that I'm destined for, either in jail or dead. So the government stepped in and they broke a lot of those down. I think almost all of them actually. They broke them down and then they put something else in those places. So, but it takes the local government to come and say, well, because they have the data, they have people, they have eyes on the place. So I don't expect the federal government to come into
Hmm.
my neighborhood. They know nothing about my neighborhood and know
Yeah.
nothing about like the population, the demographics of people and things like that. So it's up to the local government to say, okay, we've tried everything that we can at this point to see how we can solve some of these issues and it's not working. So we need help from the government and in terms of funding, more funding, because uh, if you have police and you say, well, our police officers are not doing the work, so let's bring let's bring like FBI or let's bring other federal agency, it's not going to help still. What is needed would be to actually empower those that you already have and then try to either add to them. So like Chicago, they had this shot spotter, that's what they
Hmm.
called it, where
Hmm.
it was some device that they had a media on the south and southwest side of the city that whenever a gun goes off, it would tell uh, like central command, basically like which neighborhood, which block that shot came from, so that they can go there instead of like somebody shooting on 95th and then you're waiting for for somebody else to call 911 and be like, oh, I
Hmm.
just heard a shooting or I witnessed a shooting. By the time the police gets down there, it's too late. Whatever was happening would have happened already. But even with that, it still didn't solve the issue of crime in Chicago. And like we said, Chicago is always in the news, but if you check statistically, Chicago is not even in the top 10 for like violent crimes or
Hmm. Hmm.
property crimes and things like that. So it's not in the top 10 and it's been like that for a number of years. But because of the reputation of Chicago, we have a lot of people when you say you're from Chicago, whether like I live an hour away from Chicago, from the city. But if I tell people I'm from like the suburbs of Chicago, they will consider it like, oh yeah, you're from Chicago. Oh, so you come from that place where they're always shooting people. I'm like, no, that's not the case. They take data from a small neighborhood and then they extrapolate it into the whole place to make Chicago sounds so dangerous and so bad. I'm not saying there's not violent crime in Chicago. There is, and just like every large city that we're saying will have violent crime, but they kind of pick on Chicago too much.
Look, first of all, right, for any large city, right, just for context, for Chicago is the third largest city in the United States with 2.7 million people, right? I mean, New York is the largest city in the United States with almost 10 million people, and then from there, LA, and then Los Angeles, and then Chicago. Okay, so for a large city, there's no way. And then, as I said, like even for us in the Midwest, Chicago is like our New York, our LA, because hey, it's as I say, it's the third largest city in the United States. You don't expect a city like that, and so get away to a lot of these smaller places. I mean, to Indiana, to Iowa, to
Iowa, yep,
Wisconsin,
Michigan, Wisconsin.
even as far as Ohio.
Yes,
Okay, okay. So yes, it's like a convergence point. Is where kind of everyone, what I mean, and stuff like that. So there's no way you expect crime to be zero. But I agree with you and Miss B on that point, right? Like I think the way to solve crime in America, number one, crack down on these guns, man. It's like find a way to solve this gun issue. The Second Amendment thing, I've said it many times on the show. Find a way to see how best we can solve this gun issue because there's too many guns out there. And then second, there should be investment in these communities. Obviously, because if these kids are busy, if folks are busy, if folks have job, you and I go to work. What time do I have? You know what I mean? To go as I'm going to street on the street corner to try to, commit crime or do something, or maybe like, is I just don't have the time.
right.
If we To me, those are the only two ways to solve crimes: the national guard, like the money, the funds or the money the government is spending, right, to deploy national guard troops, to LA, to Washington DC, and then maybe to Memphis, Tennessee, or to what, what I mean, or to whatever city that they decide they want to deploy the national guard. That the money they are using to do that, because you actually, once you deploy the national guard, you actually have to pay them.
Yep.
Okay, you have to pay them. They are not just there, right? It's like you actually have to pay them. And then, it's like, so the money you are spending to pay the National Guard, or to pay the Marines, you can take that very money to see how best you can work with the local authority to see what kind of an investment in terms of, in terms of combating crime. But this whole thing, sometimes I say, to your point earlier, there might be a ulterior motive here. And even if it is about, immigration enforcement, it just doesn't seem right. It just does not seem right.
Yeah. So, I mean, the government will have to go back to the drawing board, but which will not happen.
Mm.
Uh, but since they're already in the midst of doing all these different things all at once, they can still pivot and say, oh, okay, instead of sending in the National Guard, since we already have ICE agents everywhere, if and we know this is mainly about immigration, it's not about crime. I mean, we're saying it here, and on this podcast, we like to bring truth out and say it. Sometimes we don't like care what other people will say, like, oh, how dare they say such thing. But uh, I would say they don't really care much about crime and lowering the rate of crime. This is all about immigration. And to your point about guns and the Second Amendment and the things surrounding weapons in this country, it's like you don't hear stories or see things that happen in this country in other places, like in the Western or developed countries around the world. So if you go into England. I mean, there will be instances where you will hear of somebody committing a violent crime in Australia or France or Germany and other places, but at the rate of what happens in the US every single day, because people have access and just um, weapons are just available for basically anybody to get. Uh, and if you know you have a record, all they have to do is go on the street and get something in the black market, or like something that is not traceable. So there is
Yeah.
too many guns, and this whole thing about, yeah, the right to bear arms is something that needs to be revisited, because who are we bearing arms against? Like your neighbor, or like we are not at war. This we don't have like foreign invasion coming in to say, yeah, we need all citizens to bear arms so that you can stand against whatever is coming to you. So
Yeah.
with that, I don't really understand why we have so many so many guns in this country, and just about anybody can get it. And uh, almost 100% of the crimes that is reported and that we talk about all the time is people that just have access to the gun. You and
Guns.
I
Yeah.
argument, and if you say something that strikes a nerve in me, and I'm thinking, I don't know, and especially with the young people. I mean, uh, psychologists and psychiatrists would tell you that even children, we consider people 18 years old adults, and then 21 you are like full grown adult. But they will tell you that the normal human, they are not really even fully developed mentally at that age. So
Yeah.
yeah, you put something dangerous in front of somebody, it's almost like um, your little child that is crawling, unless they feel that hot pot or stove or something, and they feel it like it's going to burn them. When they see it, they are intrigued, like, oh, okay, what is this? They're going to be playing around it, and then you go and you get them from there. So we just need to revisit this whole thing about guns and its availability in this country.
Yeah. I mean, for the last 2 or 3 weeks now, since the Annunciation shooting here in Minneapolis and then the Charlie Kirk stuff last week, I've said it many times on the show. And then another incident in Colorado, the same day that Charlie Kirk got killed, there was an incident in
Hmm.
Colorado. I've said it many times, right? It's like there's 393 million legal guns in this country. 393 million legal guns. Okay. At the time, the Second Amendment back way in the day, 1771, whenever the Second Amendment guy, came into effect. The time the Second Amendment, came into effect versus now, those are two different times.
Hmm.
You don't really need it right now. And then I always struggle with what is like there's 18,000, like last night I told Miss B, 18,000 local law enforcement from your local police to the FBI, 18,000 law enforcement agencies in this country. If you have all of that, why do you need guns? And to your point, most the violent crimes they're talking about is all gun. It's not like someone going to shoplifting, right? It's not like someone going like steal, steal, right? All of these, as I said, again, it's my third time or fourth time saying it. Just from Sunday to yesterday, there was some serious shooting in Minneapolis.
Hmm.
Gun violence all over this country every day. So if you want to solve the issue of crime, you have to look at the issue of guns. You gotta. If you don't, you are never going to solve crime in this country. You are never. And the other point you made, if you have crime in other developed Western countries like the UK or Canada, it's more than someone taking their car, or in Germany where someone taking their car, trying to ram into group of people, or someone taking a knife,
Hmm.
trying to stab people. You hardly hear gun violence anywhere in Western Europe, in Canada, in Australia. You hardly hear that. It's only in America where like every day there's gun violence. Every day, every major city. When you travel, a local news, someone got killed, right? Someone got shot. every day. So there's the only way, if we don't end the epidemic of gun culture in this country, crime is not going to go away. There's no way crime is going to go away because everyone, to your point, no one wants to fight anymore. And like yesterday I told Miss B, right, there's so much anger in this country, so even the little, I mean, social media these days, these kids will just be on social media arguing, beefing, and want to see each other, right? It's on.
Yep.
It's on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like social media have created this like an echo chamber of anger, you know. So everyone's going at it. Everyone's going at it, shouting, because it's like it has become a battle. So once someone's come out, it's like, and then with the accessibility of guns, you're gonna have crime.
Yep.
You are gonna have crime. So the only way to me to end it is to try to find a way to solve the whole gun issue. But the other thing, right, with the whole national guard stuff, do you think? I mean, because to your point earlier, right, the government trying to test the waters. I think, hey, man, it's like this is my administration, right? It's like I help usher in the administration. I'm going to say that, but
Yeah.
every administration sometimes overstep. I think when it comes to certain issue, they are overstepping. And the whole National Guard troops thing, deploying into American cities, I think they're trying to overstep. But do you think by then overstepping, they're trying to test the waters? Maybe if there's a heavy protest, right, the National Guard or the Marines can come in. Do you think that's what? I mean, they're just testing the waters for these, for maybe something, I mean, down the line or something? Well, I mean, what's your thought on that?
Yeah. So I think this is probably preparing us, I don't know, in the near future or distant future, to have like martial law where you have like the military will basically be the ones controlling everything in the cities. You have curfew for everybody. There are certain times you cannot come out. Everybody have to be inside and things like that. So they are testing because just like your child will test you to see what it can get away with. That's what they're trying to do because and especially those of us who have children and other kids who like you would find out one that is very stubborn. You would tell him like, "Hey, don't cross the line," and then he would pick up his foot and try to hang it over the line to see what you would say. But I think they are trying to test and then also prepare for in case they have to go to this military rule where like, okay, well, I'm in your city. Unless I see certain things or you do what I want, then I'm going to withdraw the military. But then that's this. The government is supposed to be government of the people for the people. But if the people put you there, then you tie their hands and like, okay, well, I know you you put me here, but now you cannot like tell me what to do, or you cannot do anything. Whatever I do, you have no say in it. And, there's nothing you can do about it. So to your point, if there these protests, especially in these large cities, they're going to like the propaganda that is always running like, oh, whenever there is demonstrations or protests, there is massive looting and they're rioting and so forth. So because that's what it was saying during the LA protest, like, oh, the
Mhm.
LA riot, or the Oregon, like the Portland Oregon riot, doing
Yeah.
this and that. So it's just a way for them to come in and take control. But the control they're trying to take is not just for taking control. And we kind of alluded to that as far as the foundation, the root cause of what they're coming, because they cannot go after every immigrant. So there has to be a way to uh, basically push people out. So if you are an immigrant, I don't um, have any right to come after you because you are legal and you're contributing and everything. But I still feel like I don't want you here. I'm going to place on fear tactics that will make you think twice to either leave, or it will put you in a position that will cause you to do something. Then now I have the right to apprehend you and say, oh, okay, see, just what I thought. They were they were going to be violent, and even though a lot of people say people should protest peacefully and things like that, but many times if you look at somebody wrong, you'll be like, oh, okay, they threw something at the a federal vehicle, or they, they broke down something. So
Yeah,
let's go
yeah.
in, let's go in strong.
Well, I mean, just going to throw the cat out of the bag, right? I've been hearing that. I don't believe it. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Trump can ever go that route, right? It's like it is to test the water. We're in like, when 2028 comes around, it's like maybe he doesn't want to leave office and say, hey, if people want to protest, he's going to what? Or deploy the National Guard. So he's trying to test the waters. I just don't believe that. I think it's just fear tactic. Anybody saying that, I think personally it's fear tactic because the way America is built and the
Mhm.
way if you travel America, right, for to think that the military can make someone to stay power in this country, to stay in power in this country, I find that illogical, man. I'm telling you, I find that very illogical, right? If if the deployment of National Guard troops in American cities right now, it is meant to say, hey, come 2028, when Trump is about to leave office, right? He doesn't want to leave, and then he's going to he's going to deploy the Army, the National Guard, and Marines
Mhm.
in these American cities to crack down on whatever potential or eventual protest. I just do not see that.
Man,
Honestly, I just don't
I
see it.
I have
I
to
don't see how. I
respectfully
don't see
disagree
how.
with you because
Okay, uh,
like uh
make that make sense to me. Make that
okay,
how is that how is that ever, how is that going to be possible, Peterson? How is that going to be possible?
okay, so
Hmm.
if the military, because the president is not the one that can declare war, it's Congress that can declare
Yeah.
war, for example.
Hmm.
And then we're talking about National Guards. It's
Yeah.
the governor that has the
In
power
charge of these
in
National Guard
charge of
troops.
the
Yeah.
National Guard. Now,
Yeah.
if he can go around like everywhere that they've deployed the National Guard so far, and wherever they are planning to, if he's going behind those governors and just signing a memo that says, "Well, I don't have to listen to the governor or whoever is the authority over there." He can do the same thing with the whole military at large. He can say, "Well, Congress, I know, yeah, you the power lies within your hands to like declare or to deploy the full military. But what if he signs a executive order that that circumvents everything, and uh, he could find a way."
Look, come January, whenever come January 2029, right?
Yeah.
Number one, Trump cannot do that. I don't think he's going to
Uh-huh.
do that. I don't think he's ever going to attempt that. And I don't think the United States military will even go along with that. I just don't think so. I
Well,
just don't think so. I just right now, right? He's the president, right? He's signing
uh-huh.
all these executive orders, right? Hey,
Mhm.
he ran, he won his 4 year term,
Yeah.
right? So it's like as I've said before, even with the whole Charlie Kirk assassination, right? Like, hey, like government sometimes oversteps.
Right.
A lot of Democratic administrations have done it. I mean, Obama, the Bidens, Biden did it, Obama did it. I mean, George W. Bush, my man, George W. Administrations, because power, I mean, power sometimes can corrupt folks, right?
True.
Every administration like to overstep.
Hmm.
And right now, even with the deployment of National Guard troops in American cities, I think the government is overstepping. Trump is overstepping when it comes to some of these things, right? He's going above and beyond. He's trying to test the limits of his power. I think I think some of the things are just been he's overreaching. Now, if we get to 2028 and he's trying to pull some stuff, I just don't think no matter what a Democrat Republican will go along with that. I just don't think I just don't buy that. I'm a Republican, I will tell you, look, I'd rather vote for another Republican candidate than hey, he has done what he needed to do.
Hmm.
And when the time comes, I think he will step aside. I don't think what the Democrats are saying that's what he's gonna do. I know this. I mean, I know you guys are telling us that he's trying to test the waters. When it comes 2028 or 2029, he won't want to leave power and then he will deploy the army or the National Guard. I just don't believe it though. I
Well,
just don't believe it. And I don't think it can ever happen in this country.
But this
Honestly.
is the same thing that many of you guys and other people thought when
Mhm.
he said, "Oh, I'm going to do this." They say, "Yeah, he can do that, but we don't think he's going to go this far. He's not going to go this way with
No, it's
that."
different. No, it's different, Peter. And some of the stuff he's
Oh,
doing, as I said, he campaign on, look, like it or not, right? He campaign on a lot of this stuff.
right.
He campaigned on mass deportation.
Okay.
He campaigned on cracking down on immigration,
Yeah.
right? Okay, most of the stuff he's doing, he campaigned on it. Even when it comes to political retribution, he campaigned on it. He said he was going to come against those who hurt him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's nothing. Okay, he campaigned on it. Folks are hearing it, but to your point, we're saying, hey, as that, but he actually campaigned on them. But wherein you guys are saying that, hey, come 2028 or 2029, he's going to refuse to leave power and then he's going to deploy the military against American citizens. I
Mm-hmm.
just don't see that, man. I don't buy it. I didn't.
But
I didn't. All fair tactic.
up until the inauguration,
Mhm.
whoever is the president, they still have full power of everything. So he will still be in control
He
of the
will. He
military.
will. He will.
Yeah.
But that's where I think, right? I think that's where the Constitution will take precedent, and I think that's where you see even the Republican Party will break away, right? It's like folks in Congress will start saying, "Nah, man, enough is enough. It's time for you to go." The Americans, I just think so. I believe in this country so much. I
Mhm.
think the whole stuff about Trump third term or Trump trying to stay in power, trying to hijack the White House. I just don't believe it. I think it's a fair tactic from the Democrat. The whole national guy thing.
Uh-huh.
It's happening now. To crack down immigration, but I don't think it will come a point where
Uh-huh.
they say, hey, it's going to be used in every American city to make sure that Trump stays in power. I just don't believe it.
Well, I mean, there's a possibility. You cannot put that past
Well,
DT.
well, I know he can do some crazy stuff. It's my man, right? I know he does some crazy stuff, right? Like I said, with the whole personal, I would tell you, with the deployment of National Guard troops, I think it's overstepping because, hey, why do we have local police, local law enforcement? Why do we have sheriff, right? It's like it's to police our local communities. That's what they are there for. If a crime happened in my neighborhood or in your neighborhood, you call 911. Is a national guy gonna come?
No.
No, right? A national guy is not gonna come, but it's your local police that your local law enforcement officials are gonna be there. So I think it's pointless to try to deploy the National Guard troop to say and then under the guise of fighting crime. I think the administration, when it comes to that, the administration is overstepping. Even when it comes to immigration crackdown, we're using the National Guard for immigration crackdown or to help ICE with immigration crackdown. Just there's no need for that. Actually, there's no need for that.
Right. So, besides the administration overstepping its power or testing its limits, you said if uh, hypothetical,
Hmm.
if
Hmm.
2028 or 2029,
Yeah.
January 2021, whatever did it would be the third week of January for inauguration. If he decides, okay, I don't want to leave, and he's put things in place before that day to say, okay, well, I know that there's going to be some opposition even from my own people, but if the baby steps are being taken now and no single like elected Republican is opposing him to say, oh, I mean, what you're doing, you're overstepping. It's not right. The military or the National Guard is supposed to be done by the governor of that state, and we don't want to militarize American cities. I haven't heard or seen anybody that have come out to oppose any of the, even if it's just a threat of sending somebody, because everybody else that we see say, "Oh yeah, that city is being overrun by crime, and they got corrupt Democrats and so forth in there." So they have all these talking points, and people are very loyal to him. So, and this is why he surrounds himself many times with people who I don't know. You can almost say like they take like a loyalty test almost, because even people who far back they were against him or oppose certain policy ideas of his. Once he bring them into that fold, they're like they now become part of that shield. Like they're unbreakable. So if he has all these people that are loyal to him, uh, I cannot count how many will put their political career on the line, because the only time you see people speak against the administration is those who are not willing to run again. So basically, it's like, okay, well, I don't want to be in politics, so I'm I can say whatever I want
But,
to say.
but here's the thing, right, Peterson, right? Here's the thing you're trying to say to that, and the reason why I can never buy into that. As a you know what I mean. If you say Republicans have not spoken against some of the policies, yeah, they have been elected Republican officials that have spoken. Right, hey, I don't agree with certain decisions. And when it comes to 2028, even after the midterm, right, whatever happens after the midterm, that's when you're going to there might be some shift, right? Whatever, if you got if the Democrat win, Congress, there might be some shift. Whatever happens in 2026, right, and then 2028, as soon as you see 2026, after 2026, I think you will see some shift in a way where in that people will start speaking up more.
Yeah.
I think so. People will start speaking up more. And some of the things that he's doing, and that's what to me, right? They have the administration has been going at this breathtaking speed. Try to do let's do this now, now, now. Because hey, and you and I know once you stay here long, the political cycle here is 2 years.
Yep.
If you cannot achieve things in 2 years, you know, you know, okay, it's like there's no way you're going to achieve it. Every administration has a 2 year window,
Mm-hmm.
basically 2 year window. And so I think after 2026, the dynamic will shift. And I just I believe in Americans so much. I'm telling you, man. I don't think he can try to pull that off. He try. He won't succeed. I just don't see it. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, it's sometimes where the longer you live, right? The more things you
The more
see.
you see, yep.
Yeah, the more you see. But I mean, I just can't buy into that. I just don't believe it. I don't think he's trying to test the waters with the whole deployment of National Guard troops in American cities. I don't think I don't think he can ever pull that off, because number one, the person we are talking about here, he's 79. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be 80 next year, right? 81, 2027, 82. It was at the age of 82. I mean, you guys turned on Biden because he was too old. Okay. So are you trying to tell me an 82-year-old man is going to try
Uh-huh.
to pull a coup? Really? Come on, man. I
Well,
just
it's
I
not
just
it's
don't
not an
believe that.
82
I
year
just don't
old
believe that.
man by himself with the full force of of
The federal
Congress.
government.
Yeah, the federal government
Nah,
behind him. So
nah, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. But anyways, I mean, folks, this is a 1 hour show. We have been discussing the deployment of National Guard troops in American cities. We are focused obviously on Chicago. My man Peterson, that's where he's from. And then they say it's going to Memphis. Uh, they've been LA, they've been Washington, D.C. Now they're on their way to Memphis or to Chicago, wherever. So that's what we have been discussing tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in, Member Peterson. As we wrap this segment up about the whole National Guard troops, man, what's the message you want to leave with the audience tonight? Because to me, it's like, it's a big deal. Sometimes in our community, we overlook these things, but these are things that's happening right in our neighborhoods, happening right before our eyes. We need to be engaged. We cannot just be here. We say, hey, we'll go to work and come back, and that's it. These decisions that are being made in this country, they are affecting us directly, whether we like it or not, whatever political, wherever you are in your political stuff, this thing is affecting all of us. Whether you are a politician or you are apolitical, you don't like politics, it is any decision this administration makes affect everyone that lives in this country. And so it is important that our community really get engaged, know what's happening, and just be involved. So what's the message you want to leave tonight as we wrap this segment up?
yeah, thanks, Abe. It's been a great uh, 1 hour plus. It went by so fast. And thanks to Ms. B in the comments. But uh, as relating to the deployment of National Guard and federal troops into uh, American cities, the one about Memphis, I think they said he already signed a memo,
Mm.
and he said that the, he spoke to some business people or businessmen that said yes, they want the National Guard to come in to Memphis. Now, we're discussing all night that yes, this is under the guise of to fight crime. We don't know what type of crime because um, the FBI data, they kind of when they put statistics out there, they don't just say crime. It like just blanket statement. They will break it down. Are they talking about violent crime? I've seen like murder, homicide, rape, assault, and then robbery, and then property crime, and such and such. So, in terms of just violent crimes and crime as in a whole, the trend has been going down in the U.S. I mean, there are cities that is uh, not going down fast enough, but at the same time, statistics will show you that crime rate has been reducing in many of these cities, the large cities, and for the president to say, well, this is merely to fight crime or to take the city and clean it and move it forward because the crime rate is so high that it is holding citizens back and stuff. That is far from the truth because Chicago has always been the third largest city in the U.S. It's always been in the news from way back when about crime, and it used to be gang related crime that used to be reported. And like I said, many of these neighborhoods that existed back in the day, they don't exist anymore. But the crime is still there in Chicago, and Chicago is a large city. So, but compared to other cities, like we're talking about Memphis, Memphis leads the country. Data as of last year for 2024, Memphis led the country in violent crimes and property crimes. So, if you are going to invest in law enforcement, those are places that you should start if this was for crime purposes and not using crime as a disguise for something else. But what I believe, like the bigger picture, this is more about immigration and it's about the cracking down on immigration. But when you see federal agents in your neighborhoods, in your cities, and potentially the National Guard, this is yes. Initially, it's going to cause a lot of fear in citizens to say, "Well, why do we have military people with all their full military gear standing around corners and things like that?" But this is time for citizens, for us to rise up and engage our neighbors and our communities. That we shouldn't just lay down because this country, one good thing that I believe and I respect is the power of the people. If you get people here to come together, like there's nothing that can stop them, and it's not the presence of military around the corner. So just keep holding it down, and I want to believe Abe as he says that he doesn't think this is a prelude to something worse to come. So we all believe in the Constitution, and we believe in this country, and believe in the powers of the
Yeah.
people. So
Yeah.
uh, don't have fear and cowered away because of these things that are happening. Go ahead and still go about your daily life, but become more involved in the process. Because if we sit on the sidelines and we don't get involved, but then we start to cry after they kick that final field goal. Like, oh man, look at this team. Oh, like I'm using that analogy because both
Yeah.
of our football teams have been, even though it's only 2 weeks
Yeah.
in, but the teams then have been struggling. So you can sit down and say, I wish I was in the game. No, the game is already in play.
Yep.
So there's a part that you can play. So don't just sit on the sidelines.
I mean, I definitely admire that call to action, right, to our community, right? Don't sit on the sidelines because we are here. We are raising our family here. This is where we live. So, as I said, any decision the administration makes, any decision, whether local, national, federal, whatever, any decision, state, from your local city council to the state to the federal government, any decision these politicians make, it affects us because while we live here, we are raising our family here. So that call to action, right? Like we should not sit on the sideline. We should be involved. We should be informed, right? What is this all about? The whole deployment of the National Guard troops in American City. What is it about? Is it about cracking down immigration? And as I said, right, the whole immigration piece, that's where again some of the thing, right? Personally, as I said, I will always say this. I'm not gonna shy away from it. This is my administration. But some of the things, it's not every decision I agree with. And that's one thing I admire about this country. That's not everything I agree with. I've always believed in limited government. I don't like government in my business. That's why I don't like paying taxes. you know, yeah, I don't like too much government in my business, bro. And so to have National Guard troops in our neighborhoods and stuff like that carrying guns, nah, that's not right. No matter what. That's how local. I mean, sometimes you driving, right? You see police, you say, damn, you see
Yeah.
too much cop, so you see too much cop, you wonder, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what's this?
What's
What's
going
going
on
on here?
there?
Yeah, then you can't put National Guard troops all over this place. Don't do that, man. I mean, don't do that to us. It's not
Yeah.
necessary. It's not needed. Leave it to the local law enforcement, right? These are great cops. They have challenges. I mean, I feel for cops all over this country because man, they everyone carry almost everybody got access to gun in this country, as we have said it
Mhm.
here. So these cops that are going out on these streets, it's only by the mercy of God, but they are doing their best to keep us safe day
Yeah.
in and day out. And
Yeah.
then when you add the sheriff, when you add FBI, when you add ATF, you don't need National Guard troops coming in these local cities for what? Even for immigration crackdown, you don't need it. So I think that is one of the area the administration is actually overstepping. I hope they will reconsider. It's not needed. Put more resources, hire more cops, pay them more, right? The
Mhm.
cops maybe encourage people to go into law enforcement because even
Right.
our immigrant community, right? Folks are not encouraged to go into law enforcement. They're not. The minority community is not even encouraged to go into law enforcement
True.
because it's like it feels like law enforcement is against them. Feels the cops is against them, right?
Mhm.
But when they hold National Guard troops, like every time, like you trying to like over police these communities to law. I mean, to Miss B point earlier, right? So I don't think it's needed. I don't think it's necessary. It's my administration when it comes to lowering taxes, when it comes to doing other stuff. I
Yeah.
love it, but this one of the thing, I believe in limited government. I don't think government should, National Guard troops should be in this country, in our neighborhoods, in our American cities. So I hope the administration will reconsider that and not do that. And you don't need National Guard troops to to crack down on immigrants, on immigration, and stuff like that. So, but I say that my man Peterson. I hope National Guard troops don't come to don't come to the Windy City.
Yeah.
I mean your governor has been very, very forceful though. I give that to him. He has been very forceful.
Right.
Even the mayor of Chicago, they have been very, very forceful. Don't do that. That's not what America is about. That's not who we are in America, and things like that. And then like our political leaders need to lower the whole temperature, man. Focus on both sides, right? We don't need that. Too much anger. And then
Yes.
we have so much anger going on, and they are contributing to all this tension. It's not needed.
Right.
It's not at the end of the day, as I told Miss B yesterday, everyone just want to put food on their table, raise their family,
That's
and
it.
live and live a peaceful life. You don't need all this drama. So I hope we can lower down. I hope we can lower the temperature. I hope we can work together because there's so much that unite us and divide us. So
That's right.
with that concludes our show tonight. Hope we don't see National Guard troops in these cities, man. Maybe it should only be LA and Washington DC and not
Yeah. You see.
go to Memphis. I think they should go to Memphis, folks. Oh, folks, that's it for the night. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We'll see you guys yet back tomorrow of our business segment. So thank you so much, and you all have a good night.
Good night.
Good night, folks. See you.
So join the conversation, let's set the tone.